So there's only really one way to do a gut reset, and that would be to eliminate all the variables by doing an elimination diet. In this case, I'm having a Crohn's flare, which is why I sort of look, 9 months pregnant at the moment, and we're gonna fix that. The problem is that I'm going for surgery very soon, so I need to fix this before anything else, because going into surgery with incredibly high elevated inflammation markers is just dangerous. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to fast for a full 24 hours and see what happens. And I hate fasting, so I expect to get grouchy. I was 242 2 days ago. So out of all the pills I usually take daily, the only ones I'm gonna take right now actually are these ones. That's because these are multivitamins. I'm not taking any omega-3s or fish oils or anything like that anymore, because that actually creates a risk of bleeding during surgery, and we're trying to avoid that, of course. So multivitamins is the only pills I'm taking anymore. All right, let's go to the gym. And I think this is probably an important message to say, but before all the weird fasting kids come in here, but I genuinely think that if you're doing fasting for weight loss purposes, you're kind of missing the mark on it. Fasting is a tool that can be used for certain things, like in my case, for gut distress. So by not eating, I'm going to give it a bit of a break. For people that are actively doing fasting for weight loss purposes, especially intermittent fasting is one thing where you're limiting your calories to a window. That makes sense. I think there's a little bit of a self-control thing that's happening there that maybe you should address first, especially people that are doing those weird 72 or 1 week full water fasts for that reason. Everybody claims it's going to create this autophagy or whatever it is, where your skin's going to retract, maybe at a tiny level, but realistically, if you're doing that, you're also going to lose muscle, which, kind of goes against the entire point of what I'm trying to accomplish and what most people should be doing during a weight loss period. But also, if you fast for too long, you're going to completely throw out your hunger hormones, and next thing you know, well, guess what? You're going to be hungry as shit, and you're going to binge. That's what happens 9 times out of 10. Yes, of course, there's the outliers, and there's a few people that have actually found success in weight loss by fasting, but that's not the majority, and I think there's a reason for that. It's kind of like saying that carnivore is a good thing when it's just a fast track to higher cholesterol levels. Of course, again, there are some outliers for which it will work, but for most of the times, carnivore is definitely not the solution to Crohn's disease. All right, enough of this rant. I'm going to play a game of League of Legends, do my cardio, and hopefully I don't get my shit kicked in too hard. And there's a very few amount of times that I'll ever miss the posing, because it's not about seeing my body change every day. It's just about making it feel as normal as possible. If you've ever tried posing, it feels weird, it sucks, it hurts, it doesn't feel great, but it's a lot easier now than it was when I first started. And last time I did a fast, the results were actually quite shocking in terms of how my body handled the inflammation. So it'll be interesting to do a side-by-side of today versus tomorrow, now that we're doing daily vlogs. One big thing about the posing actually is very interesting is I always would have my underwear before like this, in order to hide the loose skin. But now that we're going for surgery, it almost feels like it's a better idea to just show it off, because it won't be there for very much longer. So I started posing like normally, but then I noticed something was wrong and a lot of pain. It actually really hurts to suck in the gut when I'm flared. But I decided to finish off with it anyways, because I only have a few more days of posing with my loose skin, and that means we need to get a lot of footage. Also, I just realized that I'm kind of an idiot, because Jesse, your Progressive Overhaul, is actually coming to the gym, and we're supposed to film our cardio because we're doing a 7-day challenge thing for another video that'll come post-surgery. So, I guess I'm gonna go do more cardio, and then I'm gonna go home and take a nap. Crazy seeing my back grow this much though, because I always felt like my back was gonna be a weak point. My biggest issue is because I have my wing scapulas, as you can see here, I can throw it out of its socket, and it's a lot more obvious from the back, right? I have a really hard time actually getting my back to contract properly, so it's really cool seeing it grow this much. My erectors are doing really well, all things considered. Crazy. All right, well, Jesse just got here. Let's go do more cardio. Here, you know what? Here's a fun question while I have you here, actually. What do you think? And I already know your answer on this one, but because we're talking about it in this video, yeah. What's your opinion on fasting?
So I mean, there's a time and a place where it makes sense. Like in your situation right now.
Yeah.
I did intermittent fasting for the first entire year of what I did, right?
Okay.
So, and that was 18/6. I think that intermittent fasting, especially for people that struggle with insulin resistance, can be a useful tool.
Yep.
And it made a massive difference for me. I lost weight a lot quicker on when I was doing it. That said, I was also a lot bigger, so of course I'm going to lose it faster.
At 550, I mean, you'll lose weight just by switching over to Diet Coke.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But I also found that it helped me manage my hunger cravings a bit better because there was that hard cutoff at night.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have that nighttime snacking because it's like, okay, 8 p.m., I'm not eating. Done. Right? So in certain ways it can be a helpful tool, but it's no better than a regular calorie deficit. It just depends on the person, right? And
what do you think about the opinion that people that require fasting lack a bit of self-control?
if you require fasting, you probably lack self-control, yeah, because you need fasting to be able to control yourself, essentially, right? So it's being like
squishing all your calories in a very small period.
So the thing is, everybody lacks self-control in some ways,
Of
right?
course.
It's impossible to be in self-control 1,000%. So, if somebody can control themselves in that way but can't in other ways, who am I to judge, right? If they're finding success that way, I mean, ultimately fasting straight up, unhealthy. We know that. There's tons of data to prove that. But, obesity, a lot more unhealthy.
A lot more unhealthy.
So, whatever's helping somebody lose that weight. Like, it's kind of like the argument of diet soda, right? Like, if I were to, let's assume that there is a small risk inherited with diet soda, a very, very small risk, which is what people propose, that it's an extremely small risk. The risk of obesity is a guaranteed risk, and it's a significantly higher one.
Yeah.
So I will, human health is all about risk management. It's all about making sure that you're making the optimal choice for your health, right? Everything in health has to be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. That's what I love so much about fitness. There is no one right path. There is no one right coach for everybody. There is no one right approach. If somebody that would come to me is a very different avatar of a person than somebody who succeed with you.
Yep.
And that's what's so beautiful about it. We'll never be in competition, and there should never be a competition for clients because everybody
we have
will
such
take
different
approaches.
Yeah.
So although I wanted to just come home and take a nap, unfortunately that did not happen because I did have a few calls come up with coaching and with just general other business stuff. I am so grouchy. When I don't eat, I get so hangry so fast, and I can feel myself, and I just can't focus. I can't work properly. That's why fasting is just so not for me. I enjoy the food too much, which is probably why I'm going to be a great bodybuilder when it comes to bulking, but it's not the first time that I have to go through this, and all I know is that when I do when I do fast, I take it very lightly during the rest of the day, so I'm not going to be working out today. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot. Tomorrow we're going to go over a recap of the call that I'm going to have with Dr. Law regarding the scar placement and what to expect, what's coming with the surgery. So we are now the next morning, and I'm going to weigh myself to see exactly what I weigh compared to yesterday. Crazy. So we're down almost 5 pounds, but I know what's going on now. So as you can see, obviously it worked just not well enough, and it's because I finally figured out what it was that was triggering my Crohn's flaring and my inflammation. And it's these little bastards. See, my problem is that when the cut gets really intense, I'll generally turn to water flavoring alternatives. Because yesterday I was perfect on the fast for about 95% of the day. And then I had a very small bite of a steak that I had cooked for Taylor, and I had about 1.5 liters of water with this stuff included. Now a tiny bit of steak wouldn't cause all this, but all the chemicals in here, that would make sense. So unfortunately, I feel as though I have to stop romanticizing flavored water and just become a real bodybuilder. So to test this for episode 2, aka the video for tomorrow, I'm gonna eat only incredibly bland foods because I don't feel like fasting for another 24 hours. So with that, I'll see you all tomorrow, and as always, let's change the world together.